What's happening, Dave? How you doing, brother?
John, how you doing?
I'm doing well, man. Does my volume sound good on the mic?
Sounds great.
Okay, cool. Cool,
Yeah,
cool, cool.
cool.
Good,
Um,
man.
uh,
How's it been, brother?
good, good. How you been?
Good. You having a good year?
Yeah, yeah. How about you?
Yeah, it's been good, man. It's been really
Sweet,
good. So,
sweet. I
yeah,
see. Are you jumping back into tools and PDR guys more?
yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, we're getting all that fired up, man. It's just too perfect of an environment down here to not do so.
nice, nice.
And kind of got the marketing company running on autopilot. A lot of continuity, from running ads and stuff like that.
Sweet.
So I'm not looking to. I was working with a lot of influencers as their CMO,
Okay.
fractionally,
Yeah.
and I'm cutting that down big time. Big,
Oh, really?
yeah. You really break it down, you calculate it, man. It's not as lucrative as what you'd
Pain in the
imagine.
ass for what you get.
It's interesting dealing with a lot of them. You'd think it would be cool to hang out with a lot of these guys, and then you realize that it's a big ego fest, man. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
so it's a bummer. It's like you get says never get too close to your heroes, man. You'll find out that they smell like cigarettes and booze.
Yep, yep. It's funny, and I see a lot of them kind of struggling right now. I don't know if it's just my eyes are open a little more, but boy, it almost reeks of desperation in a lot of their
There's a
marketing.
lot going on in the mastermind space where a lot of that stuff's falling apart, especially all the scams that happened over the last 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of unraveling. They were at, a lot of people, man, there's a lot of money in the economy, and a lot of people were ramping up and at their, very height of this business coaching mastermind world. And then what do people do? They always make the same mistake. They take on long term debt during a short term economy boost.
Yeah.
I did that a
Yeah.
long time ago.
Oof.
Learned my lesson,
Yeah.
So what I find is the bigger you get, the smaller you got to get,
Yeah.
you know,
Yep. Uh,
and
yeah, I've gone back to cut all overhead and stuff. I got one full-time employee and that's about it. And it's so
yeah,
much simpler. Not so
yeah,
many moving
yeah,
parts.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. We're going to be doing down here, training and, of course I want to got a marketing course coming out. My a training book is going to be dropping. It's written, it's
oh,
being formatted right now. I've already
okay.
kind of threw the teasers out there a little bit
Nice.
on social. So the
Is that going
training
to be a
book will be
workbook
launching.
to accompany this one?
Yeah. So it's in the PDR industry. So that one's
Oh,
really
gotcha.
for, yeah, that's really for any industry. But I
Okay.
will have a marketing just for the paintless dent removal industry.
Nice.
There's some stuff that we're doing, dude, in PDR that's going to work really well down here in DFW. And so I'm kind of bringing like 3 tier affiliate programs into the hail damage space.
Nice. Okay.
If you know the right people, like, here's where I came up with the idea. My dude Burton, who has a roofing company, and they're pretty big. I mean, it was like 30 million, 40 million, something like that,
Nice.
give or take. So pretty big, decent sized roofing company anyway. And he connected with our buddy Kluko, who is like the, bodybuilder or whatever. And then Kluko is like the fire department's hero. So Burton grew by connecting with Kluko and getting the firefighters when they had their days off to become door knockers
Oh, wow. Okay.
or just refer their the people they knew in the community.
Yeah. Oh, that's
And
good stuff.
so yeah. So I came up with the idea. I was like, well, Burton's like writing everything down by hand and all this stuff, right? And I'm like, I've already got the affiliate systems. We build them out for like even MLMs. We go down like 9 tiers.
Wow.
So we're going to build out we did David Harris Jr.'s recent affiliate deal, R3.
Yeah.
And so we're going to do the same thing, but it's going to be cool. It's going to be like, hey, get your car detailed. Here's a $500 coupon. Get your car detailed. Free pickup and delivery. On and on and on. You can give to your friend. They can scan it, and then you get the affiliate commission. And I'm going to do a 7-2-1. So first level will get 7%, next level will get 2, and the third level will get 1.
Okay.
So, and it'll all be tracked. They'll have the dashboard, all
Nice.
that stuff, and be able to track, how many people they send, how many referrals they send. So
Oh, that's pretty exciting. Nice.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But
Yeah.
yeah, there's just so much hail down here, dude. I don't know if you've ever been around DFW when it hails around here.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like Pac-Man, you gotta be like a savage and get out there and like
Yeah.
everybody's
There's
just trying to
almost
get to
too
cars.
much because some people are like, "Oh, I'm just gonna wait till the storms are done." That's what used to
I
frustrate me.
know, man.
I didn't understand it, but they were exactly right. Like, they were
Yeah, because they're afraid their car's gonna get beat up twice in the year,
yeah, yeah. Then
which
they
is a
pay
possibility.
deductibles and whatever. Yeah, it's real.
Yeah. So, man, you hitting it hard in the PDR industry mainly, or what are you doing?
Yeah, yeah, I've kind of, it's funny, I realized, like, at the beginning of the year, I'm like, "Wow, Edgy's where all my bread and butter comes from," and I give it no love. Like, for 3 years with Strategic Coach, I was trying to make it a self-managing company to where I did nothing. Then I'm like, "Wow, if it's doing this while doing nothing, what if I give it some love?" And so I've kind of
Right.
flipped it back, and I've been giving it a lot of attention and stuff like that, and, so that's kinda where I'm at, but I'm also doing the side project and stuff, and so which is
Cool.
why you're here today, and I appreciate that.
Yeah,
So,
man. Yeah, I
you're
love
helping
it,
me
bro.
keep a promise to Evan Carmichael. We shook hands that I'd get a certain number of interviews done before the next Genius meeting, which is tomorrow. So, like,
Right on, bro.
last minute, I was
I'm
like,
ready
"Alright, I
whenever
got
you are,
Andre
man.
Norman
So
lined
Evan's a good
up. I
dude.
got all my buddies, like, coming to my rescue."
Yeah, you're like me, man. If you make your word, you're gonna make it happen.
Yeah, yeah,
Do or die, man.
exactly, exactly. So,
Well,
cool.
cool. I
Well,
mean, let me know when you want to fire it up. I'm ready to
yeah,
go
we'll
anytime
jump into
you
the
are, bro.
book. Before we do that, I was wondering how's the ministering going in your church and all that?
Really good, man. I mean,
Yeah.
it's so TikTok, we just recently hit 5 million views in 28 days. We're hitting
Wow.
about 1.5 million views every 7 days. And bro,
Wow.
that's all from organic. There was a time when I was like preaching to like 7 people, we would laugh about it.
Yeah.
And,
Wow.
you
Wow.
know, so that eventually some of them went viral. We had one that hit like 1.5 million, another one that hit like half a million. And so that went through the roof. YouTube was going really well, dude. I was like averaging 1,700 followers a month and it was growing. You know what I mean? It had like a
Yeah.
compound effect to it. And then somehow it just fell off, dude. Like YouTube just went like, you know, down to like 100 and some followers that we're adding every month on YouTube, you
Okay.
know? So that channel's still good though. It's still, showing about 250,000 views a month. Um, our Instagram is getting about 500,000 views a month. It's up to about, so just over 9,000 followers now on the Instagram,
Okay.
all organic again, started with 10, 12 people, and it just little by little kind of snowballed to what it is
Nice.
today.
Nice.
So in whole, we're probably, and my Facebook page is, dude, people say Facebook pages are dead. Go look at the Kingdom Power Life Facebook page. It's
Yeah.
not dead, but it is full of some interesting people, man. A
Okay.
mix of everybody, right?
Wow. Wow.
There's people
Yeah.
putting like these terrible memes on. I don't even look at the comments. But the videos are like going wild. Like every other video is getting like 1,000 likes or 300 likes and 80, 90 comments just organically
Dude,
out
that's
there.
awesome. Wow.
So that all the organic traction and stuff like that, we're probably going to be verging on 7, 8 million impacting a month.
Wow.
And it'll get closer to, I believe, towards the end of the year, Dave, there's going to be some, I just know TikTok's going to go wild eventually.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the other ones will just kind of, they'll
Yeah.
catch up. So I truly believe that I had a very lofty goal of hitting 100 million people a month. The
Wow.
impact was 100 million a month. I don't know if I'll hit that, but I do think that maybe by the end of the year, might be hitting 15 million people a month
Wow.
with the impact of the ministry.
Ben Hardy was teaching me about an impossible goal. And
Yeah.
how if you set it, all the other chaos just settles to the bottom.
Yeah.
His example was his original goal was to pre-sell 100,000 copies of his book. He
Yeah.
changed the goal to I want to pre-sell 1 million, which has never been done before in history. And all of a sudden, all the things that he was going to do to try and get to 100,000 became, obsolete. He's like, I have to do way fewer things, but way more strategically and stuff. And so that's what his new book's going to be about, is teaching impossible goals to
Yeah.
basically get rid of all the clutter and chaos and everything, and he's like, "This strategy was gonna be great and probably, get me there," and he goes, "Even aiming for 100,000, I may have fell short and got 60 or 80,000," but he goes, "Aiming at 1,000,000, even if I fall tragically short, I'm still gonna do a 250,000. It's way
Right.
better than because I'm doing these few things," and
Yeah.
pretty powerful.
Yeah. Different mindset ideas work well for different people. And then you got that
Yeah,
person that says that, man, I wasn't trying to even do anything. I was just hoping that my grandma would watch. And then all of a sudden this video went viral and now I've got
yeah,
millions, you know? So you got that aspect of it as well. Right.
that's true, that's true.
And my whole thing is, dude, is that like I don't want the limelight. Like I don't want to be in it. I'd rather be behind the scenes. And I know that I'm always in it, but I
Yeah,
would honestly rather not be in it. And that's why I know that I'm a good candidate to be in it because I don't want any of that stuff, dude. Any of
yeah,
that ego stuff. I don't want to be on camera hanging out with this guy or doing that. I don't want none of that, dude.
yeah,
I want to like go out and just find people that need friends and be friends with them people. And all that other stuff, dude, I'm staying away from it like a 20-foot pole, you know what I mean? Like, no,
yeah,
don't
yeah.
invite me to this event. I do not want to speak on this stage. I do not want any of that. And so I'm just I'm in
It's
a
funny
season
because 'cause you're
where I
such a
just want to
natural, you're so good at
I
that,
just want
but
to keep
yeah, I get
humbling
it.
myself. You know what I mean? And just
Like it.
here's the thing, Dave. Here's what you find out, man. I've been studying so much biblical about business, right? And there's two ways of doing it, man. There's God's way and there's the other way. And the other way is going to have a high interest rate, bro. And it might be taken out in another area of your life that hurts, right?
Yeah,
So, God's way is essentially like here's what you get, man. When like me, like when we get into business, you got what Stuman calls the force of average, right?
yeah,
The Bible would call that Satan. And he's saying, no, you're not good enough. Oh, you'll never make it. Oh, nobody will never buy anything from you. And then finally you burst through that, right? But what they don't talk about, there's another force on the other side where he's waiting. And that force is he's over there sharpening his knife, going, "Oh, come on over here. You see them people that are beneath you? You see them people that were trying to hold you back? You're better than all them. You're greater than all them." So there's a prideful force on the other side of it. God is humility is the absence, it's like the absence of pride. So it's like even kill.
yeah,
And so essentially that's coming to God and just giving glory to God and just saying, "Hey, I don't have to like hide my cars or anything like that or my watches, but I give glory like all of it came from God." If it wasn't for he owns it all, right? Including creating me, you know? So you get to a point where you want to find your strength in the Lord. And if you find your strength in the Lord, dude, there's nowhere that the devil can stop you. There's nothing that he can do to stop you. So the devil could come to you and be like, "Dave, you're going to go bankrupt on this next business idea." You would look at him and you'd say, "I don't care."
mm,
He'd be like, "What? What do you mean you don't care? That's terrifying." But you know how embarrassing that would be? He'd be like, "No, no, 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 no." I'd be like, "I don't care, man. Like all my strength's in God. He's raised
yeah,
me up before. He'll raise me up again. So whatever path I go down, I'm going to go down. If that's my path and that's the case, then I've got a big learning lesson there. And guess what? I'm going to come back even stronger
mm,
because of that. Right. And when you start having that dialogue, that inner dialogue going on, there's nowhere that it can hook you. I'll take away this person. Oh, okay. Well, that person's God's anyway,
yeah,
you know?
wow,
So when you step back and you just put all your strength in God, there's nothing that the devil can do to paralyze you, to harass you, to make you feel like you're not doing anything right. Like all of these things just disappear when you put all your strength in God.
yeah. One of the best things I heard this year was, that basically fear, worry, and doubt is saying, "I don't have faith."
It is.
It was like, "Whoa, that's simple." You
Well,
know?
let me ask you something.
So,
What is sin at its core?
missing the mark or
Sin, but that is true.
okay,
But what sin really is at its core is when we react to something based on the feeling of lack.
okay,
Okay. Somebody cuts you off in traffic. I lack respect.
mm,
But the outside world brought that on.
okay,
We got plenty of respect when we have our strength in the Lord. I could look back and say, well, that person may have cut me off, but he was having a terrible day. And I've
yeah,
probably done that too. And the moment that you make the decision to act like that and say, maybe that person had a terrible day, you're actually showing the exact, you're delivering the light of the Lord into the earth.
Wow.
Why? Because God always comes from a giving place, never from a place of lack or fear. If you go back from the original Adam and Eve, when Adam and Eve fell, what was the thing? God said, hey, you can eat of all the trees of the garden, just don't eat that one. That choice had to be there, right? Because there always has to be a choice, you know? And or if, there'd be no free will if there wasn't a choice. And so what does the devil say to Adam and Eve? He said that he gets them to focus on their lack. He says, did God really say you can't have all the trees of the garden? Gets them to focus on that one thing they lack. How many
Wow.
times does the devil do that to us on a daily basis? Try to get us to
Yep.
focus on what we're lacking in the moment. Truth is, we're not lacking anything because we've got everything here. And, through God, we're not lacking nothing.
Hmm.
So I'm going to take my shirt off here.
Wow. Okay. Oh, good. You have another one on. I was going to be like, this can be an interesting interview. Oh, okay. I said, oh, good. He's got another one on. I said, this can be an interesting interview if you have. I love
You know
that
me,
little
man.
logo.
That could happen.
Nice. Cool. You don't have a hard stop or anything, do you? Or
Yeah, no, I'm good.
okay, cool. We'll jump into this then.
Well, let me take a leak real quick. So that
Yeah,
might
yeah.
be our hard stop. So I'll use the restroom real quick and I'll be right back.
Go ahead. Cool. I'll do the same.
All right, man. Ready when you are.
Okay, sounds good. Cool. Um, Look over my notes and stuff. Oh, and I was wondering, do I have an original copy or something? Like there's some typos in here. I didn't know if you wanted to fix those or if you already had.
It might have been fixed, but
Okay.
yeah, I do think somebody pointed out some typos and I just never went back and did anything about it.
Okay. I didn't know if you cared or, you know,
Yeah.
d- done is better than perfect in my mind.
I had dude, I paid a book editor $10,000 to find them typos.
Oh, wow.
And so she missed a lot of stuff.
Dude, on the next one, hit me up. I'll proof it for you.
Yeah, I've been
Uh,
running them through AI and
oh,
it
there you
works
go.
really well.
Yeah, that helps a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm so OCD. The Bible's the only book I've ever read that I haven't caught a typo so far.
Right.
Every other book I found at least one.
Well, the big typo of the Bible is all the title chapter headers.
Yeah.
And some of them, well, I mean, they were all added, and you know
Oh,
that, right?
okay.
And it wasn't until the 1300s, I believe, that they added, like Mark 11:2. Like before, it was read just like a book,
Oh, wow.
which that was actually designed so we would go in and kind of analyze particular scripture. But what it turned into is proof texting. So
Ah,
they could just find a scripture and say Mark 11:3, and then this, never mind, read what happened before it or after that.
yeah. Okay. Oh, wow. It's wild. So let's see. Cool. Okay. I'm probably gonna forget. So if you can make sure I don't remember, but at the end, I'm gonna ask you to give one tip that would help authors.
Okay.
So if you just want to kind of be thinking about that or whatever. And again, if I forget to ask you, like, you know,
Yeah.
help remind me.
I'll try. I will try to,
Uh,
man.
you are
I'm
much
gonna
more
go
natural
into
on camera than I
it.
am. I'm trying to build my strength with it. So
Yeah, yeah.
I'll
If you
lean
can,
on you, but
if we forget, just toss in that thing about AI that I said earlier.
there you go. There you go. Yeah, perfect. Perfect. Yeah, I'll edit that. So cool. Okay. So here we go. You ready?
Yep.
Okay. Hey, welcome to Author Summaries. I've got Jonathan Highley here, writer of Marketing, The Marketing Savage. Hold on, let me do that again. That sucked.
Man.
So the book's called Marketing Savage, right? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
do you like Jonathan or John?
You can use John. I just changed it to Jonathan because of Facebook made me for the blue check.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Okay. I have another friend, Tim, that went to Timothy for biblical reasons, and he's like, please never call me Tim again.
There is a biblical reason behind it,
Yeah.
but it is Jonathan. It was actually Jonathan in Hebrew means God has given.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Very
So
cool. Very cool. Okay. I'll call you John because that's what I've been calling you for what,
that's
15
right.
years, something like that.
People are call it still wigs me out. Like, it still weirds me out when people call me Jonathan. And
Yeah.
people do it all the time, dude. It's like you change your
Yeah.
freaking Facebook name. Now you've really changed your whole name for everybody.
Yeah.
And that
Yeah.
is my real name, but you know.
Wow. For a while, I was trying to be all sneaky or whatever, and I set up like a David Streen for
Yeah.
my Joe Polish side, all the marketers and everybody, and trying to
Oh
keep
yeah.
it separate from PDR. Because I
Yeah.
figured in my mind, people thought if I was a great marketer that I'd be using all these sleazy tricks to sell my tools. And so I
Mm,
tried to keep the two worlds separate. And then I'm like, this is stupid,
yeah. I
you
don't
know?
know marketing. What do you
Yeah.
mean? It's all natural.
Yeah. So, all right, let's try this again. So, here we are, author summaries with John Highley, the writer of Marketing Savage and the Marketing Savage himself. Welcome,
Hey,
John.
what's happening, Dave? How you doing, brother?
Good, good, good.
Good.
So, first thing I'd like to point out, though, for anybody watching this, is how tattered my book is and how many, you can jump to any given page. Let me see if I can hold this up better. And there's tons of stuff, underlined notes and everything else. So, this is a study guide. Treat it like a course, not a book. It's not some bedtime reading. This is an action plan that'll get you where you want to go.
Yeah, I appreciate that, brother. You know, it's like one of the things where I truly believe when I first wrote this marketing book that, you know, I hadn't seen anything that implemented not only the spiritual side of things, right? Because I'm all about, you know, what your energy is, the type of energy that you bring to your marketing is absolutely powerful. And I've seen that over and over again, meaning that I've seen individuals that have a particular product and they do not have that passion behind it. And the truth of the matter is that it typically loses steam. So this is one of the marketing books that will not only teach you practical marketing tactics, but I also talk a lot about, you know, who you are becoming inside of this book, who it is that you see yourself as, and what is the fastest path to launch that, you know, your heart, your soul, the things that you're doing out into the world, so people can actually feel that power and energy coming from you. And man, I'll tell you, Dave, I know I wrote that Marketing Savage book, what, back in 2022, I think I might have dropped that 22.
Yeah, sounds right.
And even today, I have found so much more about the truth behind all of this. And there's a lot of people that just think that they can learn a few tactics and it's going to open a few doors. And yes, that may get you going. It may fire you up. It may, you know, move some product for you or move some services for you, depending on what it is that you're selling. But at the end of the day, it's going to be unsustainable. And I talk a lot about in that book of just getting to your passion. And that is your literally, I believe that is what we were designed. That's what we were put here on this earth to find inside of ourselves. I talk about, you know, in that book, self actualization. And essentially, that is becoming the best version of who you were designed to be. And there's nothing in the world more powerful from a marketing standpoint or just from a life standpoint than actually doing that. You know, Dave, and I learned years ago. I was sitting with a coach of mine, and he told me, he said, you know, everything will change when you start living it, and that's when it hit me. It's like, hey, I'm talking about who I want to be. I'm trying to act who I want to be. But it isn't until you get rid of that checklist and you get out there and you start becoming and being who it is that you were meant to be, and you start living it, when you become a walking example that other people can see from afar. I call this in the book, I talk about the torch, where, you've got your torch, and when your torch is blazing, when your torch is on fire, you are doing what Jesus Christ himself talked about, shining your light upon this earth. And this light from afar, people can see it. And there might be individuals that got very, very small flame on their torch. They're burnt out, especially this day and age. They're burnt out, they're broken, they're hurt, and then when they can see a flame from a distance, it'll allow them and give them the permission to move closer to you. And when they move closer, you can take that flame that you're shining upon this earth, the passion that's just blazing, which I believe comes from your solar plexus, but just blazing up on this earth. And you can actually touch their light and ignite them. And if you could imagine, Dave, the continuity in that, just one person after the next, just helping each other by living the best version of themselves each and every day. That's what this book's about.
Yeah, I love, page 45, and I think it was Mark Twain that said something about the 2 best days are the days that you're born, and the second one's the day you figured out the reason why. Sorry, a little tongue tied, but you said, "If you don't know what your mission is, if you don't know what your purpose is, your purpose and mission in life is to discover it. Now this now becomes your sole purpose." And I thought, wow, what a
Mm.
you know, great thing, because I see so many people, they're trying to sell stuff that doesn't resonate with them. It's not who they are and what they're doing. And I don't think you're ever going to be super successful if you're incongruent like that.
Well, and you can see how it's draining their life. It's draining their soul, you know?
Yeah.
I know so many people that are just working to work. And I mean, they're just waking up and they're just living their day out and, going to bed and waking up again and just repeating that cycle over and over again. And I don't think that a lot of people really have a grasp on truly what this life is worth. And Dave, there's been times when I've been sitting on coaching calls, and you're right. People come to me and they say, "Well, I just don't know what my passion is. I don't know what I could do, what I should be, what I could, I don't know." And I would look at them and say, "Well, then that is your purpose right now, is to find that out, figure that out.
Yeah.
You've got to put it all into figuring that out." And one of the keys to this, one of the rules to this, Dave, is just going all in on something. Okay, but there's a little bit of there's something that God does when we go all in on something. Okay, so either we'll know very, very quickly if it's right or wrong, by the way.
Yeah.
Very, very quickly if it's right or wrong. Almost like, okay, let me just explain it like this. You get into a relationship with somebody, you beat around the bush, you never really tell them who you are. They don't know who you are. You're both being your representative for a long time, right? And then one day something happens and the two of you actually meet for the first time. That can go severely wrong, and people can break up and leave each other because of that. Now, if you get into a relationship in the beginning and you just go all in, you just let them know exactly who you are, what it is that you want. These are the problems you're probably going to have with me. This is what I'm trying to work at in my life. This is what I expect out of you, yada, yada. And you just get that over with at the beginning. You could save a lot of time, right? It's the same thing when it comes to going after your passions. You find something, you lock in on something, just go in on it, because God has a way. If it's not meant to be, you'll know. And God has a way to direct you somewhere that he was intending you to go, just by attempting to go in a particular direction. The key is to find something, lock in on it, and just get moving towards it relentlessly.
Yeah. Wow. So good. Yeah. Made me think, Stacy, my wife, I met her when I was 19, and our very first date, I said, "I'm going to marry you." And she goes, "You wish." But it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, we were totally transparent. Like, there was no faking. There was no like first date awkwardness or like masking who we were or whatever. We were both just so open and honest, and yeah, and that's same thing with the purpose in life and business and everything else. If, you have to know, you know, that it's right, that it's good fit, and if not,
100%.
try something else. I mean, I've tried a million different things trying to
Absolutely.
figure it out, and,
Absolutely.
what do you
Absolutely.
think? Does it often take a tragedy to kind of find your purpose? I know a lot of people that found it through bankruptcy or divorce or death or, all these
So
different things. Does that help accelerate it, you think, or
it does, but there's ways that you can
not that
actually circumvent that. So
okay, yeah,
pain is the absence of wisdom. Okay.
okay.
And wisdom can actually help you circumvent particular types of pain. And that's why I'm a big believer. And I've studied in this. Like, a lot of people go and pray, but what they'll pray for is typically for their situation to change. That is not a, that's not an acceptable prayer, in my opinion. What you need to pray for is that God can plug you into his way of doing things. And once you do that, he will give you the wisdom, usually from another child, another one of his children, secular or not, he's going to send somebody to you that has that wisdom that you need. And so my prayers are never to change my circumstance, because if you say change my circumstance, that might be like, okay, well, I'm not good with finances. Let's bankrupt him. So that let's change his circumstances, let's bankrupt him so he can be forced to actually start doing things my way and becoming a good steward. So my prayers are always like, God, bring me wisdom so I can circumvent this pain. I don't want to have to face, we don't want to have to face that. Why not just take the wisdom first, right? So sometimes pain will happen in our lives, but it's always because we're doing something out of line with the way that we should be doing things. We're doing things out of order, the way that they shouldn't be done. So because of that, we are putting ourselves in position to receive pain. And pain is an incredible cleanser. In fact, Dave, this is one of the things I teach and talk about, and a lot of no gurus ever talk about this. They always say like, think positive, think positive, think positive, right? Well, see, I will actually, if I have a fear come to me and it says like, okay, well, nobody's going to like me. Okay, then I'll say, well, you know what? I'm fine with nobody liking me in the entire world, everybody hating me. How about that? Right. So I will literally deliver that fear by accepting the worst case scenario,
Hmm.
not allowing it to just continue to hang over my head day in and day out. So, a lot of dealing with pain, Dave, another example of this would be, and I talk about this a lot, let's just say you got kind of like some social pain, right? I used to have this back in the day, right? I felt like for some reason I had to be the center of attention when I went places, and now I try to be like the quiet guy. And somehow I end up being pulled into being the center of attention. As I'm trying to be the quiet guy, I'm trying to step away. I'm trying to let other people talk. I'm trying to just, be the fly on the wall, be the turtle in the back of the room, right? And the interesting thing is, then you get pulled up, right? Even Jesus talked about this. But an example of this would be, Dave, is that let's say you're at a party and somebody introduced you to a guy and he gives you one of them handshakes, that that side handshake where he's not really even looking at you, hey man, and then turns around to your buddy and they just start talking back and forth, and it just seems like all of a sudden like you're not even there, and you're standing there and they're having this conversation right in front of you, and you're starting to feel lack come inside because you notice you're starting to think, hey, I'm going to go reach for my phone, or maybe I'm going to find somebody, right? No, 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 no. The rule is you got to stand there and let the pain burn through until it stops. And how do you do that? You do it by coming from a giving place. So stand there and look at your two friends talking in front of each other, and the guy who's ignoring you and your friend, and just go, I just hope they have a wonderful life. No matter how painful it feels in the moment, I just love them so much. I just want so much goodness for them. I just hope all of their blessings come through. You do that and you allow that pain to burn through, you will pass a test.
Hmm.
You will start to find yourself walking into every room with confidence because you don't need external gratification from anybody. You let that happen one time and allow it to burn all the way through, it will actually cleanse you. So pain, when you allow it, the problem is with people, they all run away from it. It's like, oh no, I got to be positive all the time, or oh no, I got to do anything but accept this pain. No, what you're doing is you're delaying it, and in the Bible, they call this getting stuck in the birth canal. And what's at the end of the canal? The light. And what happens when a baby comes out? They get delivered into the light. So if you just allow that pain to burn through you rather than staying in contractions, right, with that pain, always coming back, same situation happen, every party that you go to, same situation happens. Why? Because the creator is sending this situation to you to let you know that you don't need anybody but him.
I'm a big believer in that. If you don't learn the lesson or extract the lesson from the tough part or whatever, you're going to keep reliving it until you learn that lesson.
Oh,
Once you learned it, then you can move on.
anybody listen to this podcast, if you have the same type of people coming in your life over and over again, and they're causing you the same type of pain, because our pain comes from people, and and it's usually not intentional on their behalf. We think that it is, but it's not. They're sent there to induce this lack that's inside of us so we can see it and actually deal with it.
Mm, real good, real good. See, I wanted to touch on, I have notes here, page 87 and 88 are also magic. Bounce back into the marketing a little bit, but I love that stuff. You put one of my mentors asked me if we went 10x in any area of your business, what would break? And for me, that was such a powerful exercise. I hadn't really thought about that. Um, to where, yeah, scale it in your mind to 10x, 100x, whatever you can imagine successfully, and say, what would break? What's not going to work? What are the bottlenecks going to be? And if you eliminate those now ahead of time, it's almost, chicken and the egg. If you eliminate
Yeah.
all those roadblocks, you're gonna scale past that.
Well,
You're almost
100%.
calling it in.
And Dave, most people don't think past their first move. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
That's one thing that you've got to learn to do. I wasn't, nobody's born thinking like 5 or 6 chess moves ahead, or let's just say you're a jujitsu guy. Jujitsu guys are always thinking 5 or 6 moves ahead when they're just actively grappling, meaning that they're thinking, oh, if this guy goes left, right, whatever, I'm going to put him in arm bar here. I'm going to swoop for his leg, so they're actually thinking multiple steps ahead. And it's very hard in business when you first get into business to learn how to do this. So, if anybody who's listening who's just getting in business, it's hard enough to focus on one thing, let alone look further into the future and see what will break. So, this exercise actually allows you to start thinking steps ahead. And then you'll start planning to do things for the future. We got a new business that we're opening up right now, and I'm like 6 or 7 steps ahead. I'm like, okay, we're gonna plug in this component because this is gonna. I'm big about like figuring out ways to pay for things because all these people go into debt opening up a business and stuff like that. I'm not big into that. I don't like going into debt. So
yeah,
I'm always figuring out a way that I can plug certain things in so we can pay for the building and then we can, pay for the employees and like, what are we going to do here to make sure that when we get this growth that we're going to have the revenue coming in to make sure we don't have to fire anybody, 10x down the road. Right. And so there's all of these things that you got to look at. And what it does is it helps future proof. It changes you for today because it's like, okay, well, I can't really charge that much money for this service when we're small because man, a few steps down the road when I got to hire a general manager, when I got to hire, somebody who's like a project organizer, whatever I got to do, it's good. The whole system's going to break. There's just not enough money to grow. And so there's all kinds of little things that I've learned by thinking this way, Dave. Like sometimes we'll put seasonal margins in companies, and as you know, you've been in plenty seasonal businesses, right?
yeah,
So it's like people are like, oh, they're all about what I'm making this month. No, no, no. You got a year, man. You got to make X amount of dollars for a year if you're in a seasonal business. So it's like, if you got buildings, you got equipment, you got insurance, you got all these things. Like, what do you really have to make to carry that business through one year, a season?
yeah, yeah. It's so much of business is mindset and figuring these things out and having a strategy for it. And most guys, I don't care what industry you're in, just look at the today and they don't have that vision and the whole picture. And I know I didn't for decades of being an entrepreneur. That it was until I got around the right people and read the right books and stuff like that, that I
Mhm.
started to take the blinders off and realize what actually goes into a real business.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, like you just stated there, Dave, vision and mission are huge, but a lot of people, I feel like they kind of boiled it down to like a buzzword, kind of like core values now, right?
yeah,
And the mission and the vision is pretty simple. The vision is where do you see yourself in 5 years, right? Like where do you see the company in 5 years? That's the vision. The
yeah,
mission is what do you got to do every day to actually make that happen?
yeah,
So what are you going to wake up and do differently each and every day? And it's going to be the boring stuff, man, but it's the good stuff. It's typically revolves around taking care of people. And what are you going to do every single day to fulfill that vision? Right. And then I have people that get caught up in their core values. It's like, it depends. If the business is a very personal business and like you're an artist or something like that, I want the core values to come from you because I want you to attract, what is it in your core that you value is what it comes down to. And if you got multiple businesses like I do, my core values are typically, they have nothing to do with me, even though a lot of them are some of my core values. I think about what the client values. Because if I'm going to hire based on core values, if I'm going to run a business based on a particular set of values, I want the client to value that, right? It's about them. It's not about
Interesting.
me. Core values are usually all great. I never heard a bad core value. So, but it's about them. And then if I'm going to hire based on that, I want people that come in and they're hired based on not the core values of me, but the people they're going to be serving.
That's really interesting. I've never looked at it from that side. That's really smart.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
that's the marketing. Some people are like core values don't work in marketing. Like you're crazy. I want to know the core of what my clients value about this particular service. I want to know to the core of what they value, you know?
Wow. It's really, really good. Um, you talk a little bit about and I'm probably skipping a lot of the people are probably listening to this, they want to make money and whatever, but I'm kind of they can read the book to get a lot of that stuff. I
Sure.
love that we're taking this into more of what I think Joe Polish always says, give them what they want, smuggle in what they need. I think we're doing a lot of that.
Sure.
Um, you talk about you're a creator, not a consumer. And for me, I was at a Genius Network annual event when Jim Quick was talking, and he said the one-to-one rule. He goes, if you spend whatever time you're spending consuming, make sure you're spending that creating. And to me, that was complete flip because I was spending I mean, I read more books than anybody I've ever met, even Warren Buffett.
Yeah.
So, I love reading, but that's consume, 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 and I wasn't writing then. So just starting to journal, and I wrote my book and stuff like that. It helped me create. And when I heard that one-to-one, create to consume. So in other words, if you're going to spend 15 minutes scrolling on social media, you better spend 15 minutes producing something and putting content out there. And it's a way to keep it in balance. Otherwise, I look at it like a inner tube or a tire. If you're just constantly putting the air in, it's going to explode. If you consume, 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 and don't release and create, you're going to be totally imbalanced. And so when I started to address that, and again, you mentioned that in the book and talked about that. So do you want to
Mhm.
go a little deeper on that?
Yeah, I actually know a lot more about that now than what I did in the past. And a lot of this is some of your listeners might not know, but I'm a pastor and I got a degree in biblical theology. And so I have a way of taking this business stuff and making it spiritual, right? That's just who I am. And you'll hear that in the book whenever you're reading it. And one of the interesting things is that the male force is the creative force and the female force is the consuming force, right? And this actually is, we're a blend of everything. You know what I mean? Like I am a male, but I will be a female if I'm listening to an individual pour into me and I am consuming, right? So you're a vessel, and it all comes back to the primal, right? So if you got the male who has the seed, he's delivering the seed into the vessel, and then the vessel grows, and then you have a miracle that happens, and you have a baby that comes into this earth. So interesting enough, the man, the father, is supposed to represent the father, not only in the household, but in the earth. We're meant to be a conduit. We're actually co-creating. And that's one of our jobs on this earth is to bring things to the manifestation, meaning that God, listen, my truck that is out in front, I drive a Ford F450, and that thing was in a mountain at one time. Every car was in a mountain at one time. At some point, somebody had to think, man, these horses are taking an awful long time to get somewhere. We need a motor, we need a car. But all of that started in the mind, and that is the creative force. But how much did Henry Ford have to learn to do that? So at that point, that was a receiving force. And when you can actually blend them two together and you can bring God, which is the creator of all things, you step into something that's more powerful than the law of attraction. You step into the law of affinity. Affinity is a number 8. Okay. And if you can imagine, it just keeps going, right? It's like a racetrack, driving on a racetrack. It just keeps going. That's the type of infinity that we want to step into as creators up on this earth. So, yes, we want to receive. Yes, we want to create, but that's how we receive, by creating. So, when we are living our fullest and we are living our best and we are bringing things to other people, we are manifesting them miracles through our ability to create and deliver the light of the Lord on this earth. That's incredibly more powerful than simply, the law of attraction is that you just think about a thing and that thing comes to you, and that'll work. It'll actually work. But the problem with that is, you're instead of becoming, you're just trying to get, right? And I think that's what I talk about in the book. I talk about I'm more of a creator than I am somebody who takes in a lot of the content. And but the truth of the matter is, I've got to go learn particular things so I can do the creating that I need to create to get the things that I desire, that I want to get. And but more importantly, to become the individual that I want to become, because Dave, the real gift is the becoming.
Mm.
The gift was never in the things. It was in the becoming. And it's
Yeah.
unfortunate, there's two ways to get the things. You can either do it the manipulative way, where you're just thinking about yourself and consuming and thinking about what's in it for me, or you can do it God's way, which is relentlessly thinking about things that you can deliver to the world to help the other children of God. You see, when I'm stepping out of myself and I'm saying, man, every day I'm going, man, how can I help people? How can I help people? I'm not like in a mindset of, oh, what's my competition doing? Oh, I just got to beat them. I just got to worry about. There's a lot of books out there, Dave. They're just about beating your competition, beating your competition, beating your competition. Listen, if it's coming from God, it's not going to require me sticking my boot on somebody's neck to get to the next level. If it's coming from God, I'm coming from a place of abundance and I'm thinking about helping people. I'm not thinking about destroying other people. I'm thinking about helping the people that are going to consume what it is that I'm bringing into this earth. See, that is a superpower, and that has longevity to it. The manipulating, and here's the thing, Dave. Like, if I start thinking about other people and I'm just getting wild about it and I'm helping people and I'm bringing things to the marketplace, there are going to be people that go out of business probably because of that. Maybe I got in front of them, but guess what? I didn't stick the knife in. I wasn't sitting there focused on them, ready to stick my knife in them when they fell. I just went out and became the best I could possibly be. And I
Yeah.
focused on helping people. Maybe they were too focused on me. They stuck the knife in themselves.
Really good. Really good. Yeah. So much of that is why my head's just reeling with that. That was good, John. Um, so much of that too is I think a lot of marketers come from a place where they're giving, but with that reciprocity in mind that they want to receive. Can you speak to that a little bit? Do you know what I'm talking about? Like
Yeah.
there's a difference. I'm trying to
So
define giving
there,
because there's two ways to
sure.
give.
There's a
There's,
different,
yeah, I'm
there's
going to
a,
give this because it's going to get me this is totally different than what you're talking about
all
here.
right. So dude, I'm going to break it down for you, brother. You're a married man. This is going to be easy for you to understand.
Okay.
Okay. So we are not supposed to want to extract energy from other people. Okay. We're not supposed to do it so we take energy from other people. Because Dave, we all have little energy, man. You know what I mean? Like, think about this: when somebody's trying to take energy or steal energy from you, you look at that as that's like a dark hole. That's like a life sucking situation that you immediately want to get out of, right? So the way around this is the way that you need to be as a husband. When you do things, don't do it so you get something in return. Y'all know what I mean. If you're a husband, I'm going to go wash the dishes because I'm going to get this later, right? Or, whatever it is, right? I'm going to make a bunch of noise through my house, shaking the bag, letting her know I took out the trash because then I might get a little something later, right? So the key to this is, and this goes with businesses, right? And God wants us to be this way, by the way. He wants us to be this way. Literally, Do things, do good, go out, do good, go out, help people, go out, deliver your products to the earth, and look to the Lord. He'll repay you. He'll put the right people in place. He'll move the right situations in front of you. He'll go out and he'll do the things. He'll put it on the people's hearts. Now, Dave, this actually goes down to churches, bro. Like one of the biggest problems that we have at the church today is that they think their money comes from the congregation.
Mm,
Okay. When you think your money comes from the congregation, God, that doesn't settle good with God. God wants the church to know that the money comes from him because it does.
mhm.
All things belong to him. So if you go into a church and they're manipulating people out of money and they're not doing things God's way, God's going to take his hand off of that congregation. And so what should a church do? A church should go out, baptize people in the name of Jesus, love on their members, do what they're called to do, and look to the Lord to put it on the people's hearts to give. Because the Lord will. He'll put it on people's hearts. And if you genuinely go out there, think about this, Dave. I went out there and said, I'm just going out with a giving force. I'm going out to give to people. I'm going out to love on people. And I'm not going to expect one thing out of any of them. What do they see out of me? The light.
Yeah.
The darkness is a negative force, a sucking force.
Mm.
All they see is the light. What do you want to do when you see the light?
Go
You want to
towards
get
the light.
closer. You want to get closer to the light.
Yeah.
So when you go out and you just represent what God looks like on this earth, that's just coming from a giving place, and always thinking about, well, like in any situation, always think about coming from a giving place. This is like why one of the things that people are like, well, how do you have confrontation? And I say, well, I mean, here's how you do it. You have confrontation when you don't have any emotion in it anymore.
Mm.
Because if I have emotion, if I come to you with a confrontation, Dave, and I have emotion behind it, am I trying to get something from you? I lost respect from you. I need you to listen to me, right? If I come from that perspective, you're going to feel like you're back. You're going to go back into a wall. We're never going to come to a place where we can actually understand each other. Now, if I go past the confrontation and I don't feel like, maybe Dave did something to me and I don't feel like talking about it anymore. And now I'm actually to talk to Dave about it. I have to come from a giving place because I don't even feel like talking about it. But then when I sit down and talk to him, it's not like I'm going, coming from that taking energy anymore. I'm going, man, Dave probably doesn't even know that he did that to me. And it's a blind spot. Like, how can I come in like a loving way and speak to him, you know what I mean, and help him for the rest of his life? And then also make sure that our friendship stays really good. So if I come to that point, like now I'm sitting here, like, I don't even really want to do it now. So now I am giving, right? So there's it comes down to two things, Dave. This whole, like everything, like this is our free will on this earth. Okay, so it comes down to two things. It's always a fork in the road, and it's always situational. Either we're going to lash out from lack or try to take from our feeling of lack, or we're going to come from a giving place in any situation.
Mm. Really good. Yeah. That's Genius Network's got an interesting thing that on the first day of the meeting, they always talk to the new members and give advice and whatever. And the advice that the old members always give the new members is come here to give. You might need
100%.
something, but don't leave with that because you're here to help everybody else. And then the same thing winds up happening. If you're there to help the other 99 people, you've got 99 people helping you. And it
100%.
winds up being a really wild thing. So, but and Joe's got a book about it. Life gives to the giver, takes from the taker. It's just what you just explained.
Yeah.
Like
Well,
it's
well,
so true and so good, but I think so many people miss it or they
mm,
get real close to thinking they understand it, but they don't quite grasp it. They always have that little bit of,
well, sometimes the takers can keep it, Dave, but they have to fight like the devil to keep it.
yeah,
Meaning that if that's the way that they take it, they're going to fight every day of their life just to keep it.
yeah,
And it gets more manipulative and it just continues to consume their life. Other parts of their life will fall apart because of it. When you do things God's way and you come from a giving place, like, bro, like, I had a influencer who got really, really big, client of mine, and his head got really, really big at the same time. And he came to me, and I'm still friends. I love him to death. You know what I mean? I love him to death. I've been there. We've all had these seasons, right? And finally, he asked me for my opinion, and he comes to me because why am I just surrounded by all these people that are takers, man? They're all taken from me and da da da. I'm like, because, dude, nobody wants to really hang out with you. He's like, what? What do you mean? And I'm like, listen to you, bro. Like, you're coming from like very prideful, man. And the way that you act like you're bigger and better than everybody. And we had this like conversation about it. And he was in a place where he could receive it at that time. And it didn't bother me. He was still really good to me, right? But I seen the way it was. So the only people that would surround him or be around him as a friend would have to be individuals who were trying to get something from him. And then he was confused why everybody was trying to take from him. Well, let me tell you a little something about humility, the power of humility. And what does that mean, bro? When you start getting big, get low, get small. You know, you start making a ton of money, go buy a little old Toyota or something like that and drive. You know what I mean? Like get smaller because you'll be able to surround yourself with the right people. Everybody loves a person that's humble. You'll have the right friends around you. You'll get rid of all the takers. If you're prideful, you're flashy, you're flashing everything everywhere you go. Don't be surprised when you're surrounded by a bunch of wolves and every one of them's trying to take a chunk out of you. And you're living in a world of manipulation.
Yeah. So true. So true. Cool. Um, bounce back to marketing more a little bit.
Yeah.
You talk about figuring out their hidden desires that if you ask somebody, like and I found this out the hard way with my own tool business. I'd say, hey, here's this new thing, would you buy it? Oh yeah, I would. Well, pull out your wallet. Oh, no, no, not right now. Like they'll tell you what you want to hear or what they think the right answer is or something like that. How do you get to the actual hidden desire, what they actually are going to rip their wallet out, to buy?
Right. So sometimes it's hit or miss. I
Which,
mean,
which
you're
just
not going to
felt
hit
like
it
the
on the head.
opposite of what we just talked about this whole time, but
Right. Well,
you know what I'm
you're
talking
not going
about.
to hit it on the head every time. But one of the
Yeah.
things about finding hidden desires is, you're going to, you're really going to look for hot buttons, industry hot buttons. And things that hidden desires are really like solving big problems, right? So, especially if you're in that particular industry or you can find a way to get around the individuals in that industry, you got to find out what the biggest pressing issues are because behind the biggest pressing issues, there's going to be desires to actually have that fixed. Okay. And an example of that would be Dave, that we're like an auto body industry, right? And I developed a particular tool. You've developed a ton of tools, but this one particular tool, I developed it because I got a set of these tools and they were hurting my hands, right? And I just knew that everybody's hands that they put on these tools that were really, really good tools, very expensive tools, they were going to have buyer's remorse. And I went around, I talked to a few people and they go, yeah, dude, I bought a set of them or yeah. And I found out that there was a lot of buyer's remorse behind it, and people were telling me about this thing. So I was like, well, how can I fix this big problem? How can I fix this big problem? And I ended up developing a tool that was a hidden desire based out of something that I felt first. And then I went around and talked to a few people and I just knew though, you know these particular things that everybody's feeling the same way about a particular thing, you can fix that problem. And that's a hidden desire inside of that industry. You can also look and when you have conversations to people in particular industries, right? I knew that early on that people had what's called social guilt. And social guilt is they knew that they should have been doing more to get their business out into the community. And I learned this by talking to people. I'm like, oh man, yeah, I haven't posted forever. Man, I need to start posting. I need to start creating videos or I need to start creating this content. And I would hear it over and over again. So I knew that there was a desire in the industry to become better. There was a desire for them. They wanted to become better. Okay. So, I'm always looking for them particular desires. But now here's another thing, Dave. And this is something that I've never heard like anybody talk about. And I've learned recently from the Bible again, is that if you want to find your own hidden desire, look for any time that you become a little jealous. And none of us are perfect. We're all going to get hit with a little bit of jealousy, right? Hopefully your mind's renewing and it's, a lot less than, because early on, man, you get jealous over all kinds of stuff when we're kids and things like that, right? And, but little by little, we correct ourselves, but pay attention to it. Like if you feel like you see somebody or something out there, you feel a tiny little tinge of jealousy, don't like dismiss that as bad. Take that as a sign that you have a desire in your heart for that thing. It's true. Anytime that you're jealous, you got a desire for something on the other side of that. And you
Hmm.
need to take that jealousy and go, and the first off, what I always do, say a prayer for them right then and there. If you felt a little bit of jealousy over somebody, don't leave the situation. Go, you know what? I hope they have more of the thing that I feel jealous about, right? I hope they have more of the money or more of the cars or more of this beautiful house or more of whatever it is. And pour a blessing on them in that very moment. And then look, and then you'll be corrected right then. You stopped. You came from a giving place. You got an infinity with God, right? And so now that you're at that point, you go, okay, why did I feel that way?
Hmm.
And then now you know your desires, your heart's desires. And you can say, well, now instead of being jealous of this person, I can look and see what they've done so great. Maybe I can be a little bit mentored by them, not idolize them. I don't believe in that, but take a little mentorship from them.
I was
Learn
gonna say,
what's
reach out and find out, how'd they get it, what was
yeah,
their
learn a little something
whatever. Yeah, there's
and
always
love on them.
yeah,
Change that thing inside that lack that
yeah.
appeared.
My friend Gallant, similar kind of thing. My friend Gallant told me, he goes, "Dave, pay attention to who celebrates when you win."
Yeah,
And I was like, that was pretty eye-opening for me because it's not exactly who you think it might be, and you see a lot of people's true colors and if they're jealous or not, or if they're happy for you, and I don't know how else to say it. I've read entire books on this. Be happy when other people win. Be happy
yeah,
when they get what they want. If
yeah,
you are negative and like wishing them bad, you're just blocking your own
100%.
abundance. So
100%. And, I think a lot of people do not realize that it's something that you actually got to work on yourself.
yeah,
I don't think people were born with this ability to jump up and clap when everybody wins. So, what do you got to do? You just got to do it. And you got to do it. And you got to keep doing it. And you got to keep doing it. I had a situation with a business partner and it got really bad, between me and him. And the situation got so bad that I was at my computer one day and I was writing an email, and my wife came behind me and I snapped at her. I turned around, what? Like because I'm in the middle of writing this heated email, right? And so, neuro association, Tony Robbins, I look at her and I associate her with the whole situation. And then that's when I realized, bro, I was like, I'm letting the enemy in my house. I said, I'm letting the enemy in my house. So I was reading Proverbs every day at the time. And I remember reading, pray for your enemies and do not lean on your own understandings. So two Proverbs, right? So I said, you know what? I'm going to try it. And I was doing 75 hard at the time. And I remember walking around my neighborhood. And at first, I couldn't even pray like anything good over him at all. So I had to like start praying over his children, right? Because I needed it to be feel a little, at least a little bit authentic. And so I started thinking about his beautiful children and saying these prayers and these things. About 2 weeks in, I did it every day, Dave. And about 2 weeks in, bro, like I was able to like remember these moments that we had and these amazing things that he taught me and these situations and dinners. And then I was able to like just start praying. Like I'm talking about like praying over his family. And we're still going through this like dispute. And it changed everything. It changed everything because I didn't write any bad emails. I started wanting to become fair. I came from a loving place and I got the enemy out of my household. And I can tell you one thing, bro, that very moment, that test that I was going through at that time, it leveled me up like 10 levels. Like you go through a hard one like that and you do things God's way. Dude, my mind now, Dave, like somebody comes at me and sends me a bad email, you get them crazy emails from somebody, just randomly. I don't really get a lot of them, but if you did and I have, I'll immediately start praying for them and I'll start thinking good things about them just because I did it during this particular situation. And it always turns out good now. So the truth is, we might not understand why God wants us to do things a particular way. But I'm telling you, he wants us to do it that way. And when we do, at the end of that, we see how valuable and how it actually changed our life. That he's always right when he's
yeah.
trying to guide us.
I remember you sharing that with me about how you were praying for that guy. We were standing in the
He
hotel
was a
lobby
great guy,
in
a
Florida,
great
and
guy.
it really flipped a switch in my mind about, wow,
Yeah.
really,
He's a great guy.
kinda
We just got in an argument, a big
yeah,
one. You know what I mean? That's it. And that doesn't change any way that I feel about him or wanting blessings in his life or loving him or loving his family. That doesn't change any of that,
and just
bro.
knowing it sounds cliche, but hurt people. It's a way to break that cycle, first of all, but it's,
Yeah.
knowing that, people are doing things for their reasons, which may not align with your reasons, and so
Yeah.
there's a lot of times that just collides, even though
Yeah.
you're both great people, whatever, it's
That challenge again,
yeah,
challenges come in our life for a reason.
yeah,
And that was sent from God, just like any other challenge. You can always choose whether it's sent from the devil. You can play the victim and say the devil got a hold of me, or
mm,
you can actually be the victor and say God put this situation in front of me because he knows that I can overcome it.
yeah,
There's always that element that you can choose either way.
yeah. It's a lot of stuff. I think when you reach that level of success, it's more about what you're not doing than what you're saying yes to and doing. And sometimes like it's a way of getting you out of a situation that's not serving you anymore, not teaching you anymore, not, preparing you for the what you need to become.
Yeah, that's true.
So, but it hurts like hell when you're going through it.
That's no doubt, man.
you
That's no
know.
doubt. It does.
Yeah.
And but again, man, what would life be without pain? Yeah,
Oh,
I had an old guy, Joel, one time in one of our groups. He owns a trucking company. And Joel sat there and he broke down. He goes, "Man," he goes, I got my wife is happening with this thing's happening with her sister. She's in the hospital. My mom's not doing that good. There's like, he went and rattled all these things that's happened in his life. Like one thing after his kid was doing this, right? All this stuff, right? And he goes, "But you know what?" He's like, "I was laying in bed thinking about all this stuff. And as I was thinking about it, this peace just came over me." He's like, "This incredible peace just came over me." And he looked at me with tears in his eyes and he goes, "I realize that this right here, the here and now, is the only place that we get to struggle." He's like, "We get to struggle."
yeah.
And I mean, he's got tears running down his eyes. He's a very passionate dude, tears running down. And I mean, he's just in complete peace saying, "I get to struggle." Man,
Mm.
that's another level, bro.
About a month ago, I met the Iron Cowboy,
Yeah.
um, uh, James Lawrence, I think is his name.
Okay.
He had he was doing 100 triathlons in 100 days, and one of them he was pulling behind a quadriplegic kid,
Yeah.
in Dayton, and he said, he's like, "I you know, Dayton can't run. I get to run today."
Yeah.
Dayton can't swim. I get to swim today. So it wasn't like, and this is a dude losing toenails, his broken bones, he's been in wrecks, all this stuff. He's still going forward. And he's like, I get to run today. And it was just that, we all were reaching for the tissues and everything. And it was
Yeah.
like, it's such a perspective of, and we hear this all the time. People say, I have to. I'm always, you know, drives me nuts when my wife uses that language. I have to do this. No, you get to do this. It's very subtle language, but subtle language can make, little hinges swing big doors. It can make all the
Mm,
difference if you have that perspective of, it's a blessing, not a curse kind of thing that we're
100%, bro.
getting to do what we do.
Yep. Yep.
So very cool, very cool. Last thing I'd like to talk on is journaling. You mentioned that in the book, and it's been very powerful for me. It's one of those things that works so well, I stopped doing it. And
All right.
I'm like, why am I feeling this way? Why am oh, I stopped journaling, and,
Yeah.
uh, so talk about that a little bit, if you will.
So yeah, so one of the great things about not only journaling, but just reading what might be your perfect day each and every day. So writing that out and putting as much emotion in it as possible. Meaning, what does your perfect day look like from the beginning to end of that particular day? But then also writing, your previous day. And a lot of times I do that in the morning. There's some people that do it at night. I'm like one of them guys. I close my eyes, I go to sleep
Hmm,
and very fast, right? My wife says I just go to sleep. Like I don't have any in between. I'm either wide awake or I'm asleep. And so doing that in the evening is never really good for me. So I always do it in the morning, very early in the morning. And what it does is it gives you the ability to reflect on how much you've grown. So I can go back to journal entries back in 2016, and I can look at where my mindset was at that time. And I can really see the progression, like even from just a few years ago. From just a few years ago, I feel like I was a different person. And it's a good way to remind you that you are growing, because there's a lot of people that only focus on, the distance or focus on the horizon. And the problem with that is you're always walking towards the horizon. You're never going to get to it. And our horizon is always going to change. I mean, I'm probably on my like seventh perfect day because I've achieved them over and over again. Right. And then I'll write out a new one. Well, what's my next perfect day look like? So I've had perfect days, and I got these all saved, Dave. Like I've had them written out to where they were very, I was at a materialistic point in life, and I wanted things, and now my perfect days have a lot to do with who I become and the way that I feel on these days and my motives and the reasons why I'm doing what it is that I'm doing, opposed to what it is that I'm getting. Right.
Yeah.
And so I can actually look back through that journal, and I can just look through the history of it, and I can see my growth. So instead of just looking at the horizon, I can look back and go, holy moly, look at the growth in life. So you can actually begin to get a snapshot of the renewal of your mind. And another cool thing is you'll hit particular times when you were thinking a certain thing, and you'll realize that you did it, and you'll see the path on how you created it and how it came, to fruition in your
Yeah.
life. It's just very powerful to go back and read them as well, and not to mention really just, writing down to be self-aware. When you put it on you take a pen and you put it on paper, there's power to that.
Yeah.
And I mean, I've actually do a pen and a paper now, and, I actually bought this is like a $100 pen that I have here, and this thing, like, floats, if you can see that, but it's supposed to float in the
Oh,
middle
cool.
of this
Yeah.
thing, and it does when it's sitting on my desk anyway. And it's got a gold ring around it. So I made a big deal about it. I went and bought that's about $140 pen actually. And and I thought about buying $1,000 pens. I just haven't got to the point where I want to do that. You probably got a Mont Blanc over there, don't you?
This is the one I use for my,
Yeah. So Dave's
when I'm
already
reading
up
my
there like
Bible.
that.
This is a Pelican, which as a
Oh,
marketer,
okay.
you'll like this. This, and I haven't fact checked it, but it says it in their literature and whatever,
Yeah.
that the Pelican pen was the first print advertising
Oh,
piece
wow.
ever made.
Yeah.
So, but I'm a big believer in special pens for special things. Yeah,
Yeah.
Mont Blanc. So I collect pens. I love that.
Yeah. I, I almost went that direction, Dave.
Different
I'd stop
pen
myself.
will invoke different things, and there's been a lot of studies on
Yeah.
these, especially authors that type their
Hmm.
book versus writing it. You're accessing different parts of your brain. So if you ever get
Right.
writer's block, switch your medium. If you're a
Yeah,
pen
man.
guy, go to the computer. If you're a computer guy, go to a pen and paper. But there's something magical that happens when
Yeah.
the pen and the paper and your brain is connecting and telling it what to do and everything. And my dad was actually a fascinating guy. He was completely ambidextrous to where he wrote with whichever hand picked up the pen, and you could not tell any difference. You couldn't say, "Oh, he wrote that with his left hand versus the right." It
Wow.
was completely, and it was a wild thing. But, and I think it goes back to our discussion on producing as much as consuming. When you're journaling, you're getting it out of your brain, you're out of your mind,
Yeah.
you're getting it, you're creating space and pressure release. As entrepreneurs and authors, we're the snow globe's shaking up all the time, and you have all that turbidity. And journaling's a way to just let it all settle down, and then the things that are important come into focus.
100%, man.
Oh,
So yeah, you know exactly what that does, and just the power of sometimes you write something down, man. I mean, it's amazing how it's much more likely to actually happen. It's something about you get it out of you, put it on a piece of paper. I mean, imagine that. God created the earth, and then
becomes
He
real.
wrote the Bible for
Yeah.
us to learn from. And but He didn't. He did it. He wrote it down. You had to read it.
So there's a word, I can't think of, it starts with an M, Mimitz or something, but it's before he created the earth, he created the space for the earth.
Yeah.
So you need that space, you need that
Well.
openness. That's why people take sabbaticals, I believe, and
Well.
uh,
Yeah.
doing things. Kathy Colby says the time to stop working is when working's no longer working. So
Yeah.
I'll hit this spot where, hey, nothing's going right. Well, I'll just do more.
Yeah.
No, you're doing the opposite of what you need. You need to step back. You need the 30,000-foot view. You need to really look at what's important. And there's probably a reason, like we discussed this whole episode, of why it's not working. It's not resonating. It's not congruent with who we're
Hmm.
supposed to become. And it's
Well,
tough to cut things and
yeah,
remove them, but a lot of times that's what's required.
100%. Well, think about this, Dave. So the Hebrew word for skin and light is exactly the same. The reason why that was is when Adam was walking with God, he was fully connected. They talked about him being clothed in the actual light, meaning that he had full connection. Well, when he fell, what needed to be created? Space. Okay. What needed to be earned then after that space was created? The light of the Lord, creating.
Hmm.
Okay. So, and you just laid that out like, I need time to think about what's important. Well, this is what God has given each and every one of us: space, time to figure out what's important, and also the ability to work for and actually earn his light up on this earth. And Jesus called it treasures. You know, it's who you become, your virtues,
Yeah.
right? Them are the treasures that you take with you. But the truth of the matter is, the only reason we have space is for that, because we needed to be disconnected. Okay. So we could figure out who we were, what was important, and live a life that was a life of meaning, that our soul inside of us could actually correct and become what it was meant to be in this lifetime. So that's in heaven, Dave, there's neither here nor thou, so everything's in the moment. That's why God's the beginning to the end. God's mercy time is proof of God's mercy on our lives. And what does that mean? That means we can do something back here, and then later on in life we can fix it, and we can still be in good standing. If we were here nor thou, as soon as we done something wrong, we'd be zapped out of out of existence, bro. This what we see right now, this time, this is the only time we're going to see time.
Mhm.
Okay? And it's the only time we're going to be able to correct who we are upon this earth. And I think we talked a good deal about how you do that on this show alone.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you so much for that. And so we're sponsored by We Help Authors. So if you were to say one tip to help authors, what would it be?
I would say to utilize AI to do a lot of your editing procedures. And I mean, Dave, right now, I mean, even if you went to a basic AI platform like ChatGPT 4, it could literally, if you just pour out of your head what you want this book to be about, the thing could come into probably about 80% of what them chapters need to be written about, and even lay out bullet points that you could follow per chapter. And then nowadays, all you have to do is go and speak it out in some sort of, whether you're recording it on your phone or you're recording it on, I do it on movie editing, Final Cut Pro software. I'll just sit here and I'll record my books. I'll speak them out. And then you put them in Dropbox, take the transcribe, throw them back into the AI, have AI edit and transcribe it for you. And then if it's going to mess it up and it's going to put its own spin on things, nail down your brand tonality with it, tell it exactly what you want it to do, and have it make its own prompt that you'll put ahead of them transcribes. And I'm telling you, you'll be crushing out books in no time. They'll be in your tonality. They'll feel like they came from you if you do it right. And but it's never been easier now to speak something into existence.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, I like to still, and you can use AI a million different ways. I know people that are writing their whole books with it. I know people that are just using it to get their outline and get their thoughts out. Other people are using it to just do the final edit, stuff like that. Make sure that it's still you in your book. But for me, I still like to write it all again, pen and paper, because it's getting it out of my brain. The goal for me isn't to have the finished book. Yes, I want the finished book to be out in the world and helping people, but I want it to be pulled from my,
Yeah.
it's almost like that Harry Potter thing that pulls the bad thoughts out or whatever
Right.
of their mind. Like it's actually clearing my head and getting it out, and I'm creating,
Yeah.
and it's that process that I don't want to skip. I know I could
Yeah.
shortcut it, but I don't want to. And again, for each one of us, it's different. But for final edits, probably the number one thing I'll do is I'll be proofreading my stuff and I'll be like, man, that paragraph or that sentence is clunky and I can't figure out how to make it not clunky. I throw it in ChatGPT with a little, you know, clean
Prompt.
this up, make it a little more succinct and flow better, and boom, it just creates gold from my words, you know.
Yeah.
So but it's still me, it's still getting my message across and stuff like that. So those are where I like to use it personally. But again,
Yeah.
everybody's gonna
Well,
has a
see,
different reason they're
I sat
writing the
down and
book.
wrote that book, Dave. So
What's that?
I sat down and wrote that book and typed the whole thing out, The
Wow.
Marketing Savage.
Yeah.
And, but what I did was I paid an editor back then, and the editor was like $10,000. You can avoid that now. In
Yeah.
fact, you can tell ChatGPT to not change anything, but just give you the grammar, or you can go to grammarly.com, toss it on there, and then, you can go through and you can correct it if you want, right? So it'll have lines under it and you'll read it and you'll be like, okay, well oh yes, I did misspell that, right? So
Yeah.
Grammarly helps a lot. But then the truth is you can actually find pretty good editors for 5 to 700 bucks. You don't want the $50 people, right?
Yeah.
But the 5 to 700 bucks on like Fiverr.com or freelancer.com.
Hmm.
And yeah, they got a ton of good reviews. I got a lot out of some of them editors over there that just went through and caught some things that I didn't catch.
Yeah. Yeah. There, to correct myself in this, so before we started, we were talking about how every book I read has at least one typo in it, except for the Bible and stuff.
Right.
Um, it used to be if a book had too many typos, I would discredit the knowledge, the wisdom, or whatever.
Yeah.
That was my problem. I needed to ignore the packaging and get to the root of what it
Yeah.
was. And
Yeah.
I've grown a lot and I'm much better at that where um there's a lot of people like won't take advice from somebody if they don't look the part or something like that. And
Right.
that's just short-sighted and you're missing out on some wisdom and stuff. And Cialdini goes into that a lot with his book Influence. If we're all at a crosswalk and a guy in a three-piece suit walks against the light, everybody starts following them. But if like a homeless guy does it, nobody follows them. And we
Right.
put so much of our subconscious stuff into the packaging and miss what truly matters and stuff. So just kind of putting that out there for my own uh
Yeah. Well,
benefit
what's
as well.
interesting what
But
you said about that, Dave,
yeah.
something that I was talking to another friend of mine. He does like all the content for Ed Milet. Like he flies with them, does the videos and all that
Yeah.
stuff. And real good, a younger feller. But I was talking to him and I told him, I said, I said these influencers got it wrong in this one area, right? He's like, what? He's like, they say that you should only listen to people that, you know, are important, right?
Hmm.
And he's like, okay, I understand that. He goes, and I say, I do agree with that too, though. You should listen to people that, are where you want to be, right? I said, but here's another thing. At the end of your life, you're going to say, God, I was looking for a message. I was looking for a message. I was looking for a message. Why didn't you deliver it to me? I was looking for a message, right? And God will say, well, I was giving it to you. There was a guy outside the gas station that looked halfway homeless and he wanted to talk to you for a minute. And I was going to deliver my message through him to you. But you would have actually had to humble yourself then, wouldn't you? You would have had to say, oh, I'm not better than this person to get my message. And I'm telling you, Dave, that God wraps his messages in these situations. So if you ever get to a point where
Yeah.
somebody's talking in front of you and you just don't want to listen for whatever reason, lock in on them and just listen. Because I can tell you almost every time that you're going to find a message inside of whatever they're about ready to tell you, especially if you don't want to listen. And it's
Uh,
funny how things work, bro. You imagine that sitting there going, why didn't you tell me, God? He said, oh, I did. There was a
yeah.
guy right there by the gas station. There was another dude that was down there by the corner, like on and on and on.
Yeah. Yeah. There's every strategic coach building has the same thing on the wall when you walk in. It's our eyes only see and our ears only hear what we're looking for.
Yeah,
Something like that. I missed it a little bit, but that's basically, if we're not looking for it, we'll miss it 1,000 times.
100%. And when you are looking for it, people don't realize, like people say you want to pray and then look for something. Bro, I'm like sitting there in the shower, washing my hair going, all right, God, I know it's around here somewhere. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? That's Matthew 6:33. Put the kingdom of God first and all things shall follow. So when you want a message and when you really want to hear what's going wrong and when you really want to hear how to correct it, you will relentlessly go out there and you'll look for it everywhere. Everywhere.
Yeah. So good. So good. Well, John, thank you so, so much. It's been amazing. I really appreciate you coming on here and sharing what you have to share. It's going to help a lot of people.
I appreciate you too, brother.
Thanks.
Yep.
Cool. Let me
All right, did we
stop.
wrap that one up?
Yeah, I think that's great. Is there anything else you want to share or think we
No,
should have touched on?
no,
Okay.
no, no. I think that's
And
that.
if you don't mind, shoot me over like uh yeah, obviously it's going to link to the book and stuff, but if you want me to put more
Sure.
stuff, about you and about, what you're up to now and links and stuff you want me to share and whatever, just
Yeah,
put
we can
that
just link them
together
to
for me.
Amazon or something like
What's that?
that. We can just link them over there to Amazon.
No, but I mean, if you want to link them to some of your social medias or something
Sure.
like that so they can follow you easily.
Yeah. Yeah,
Um,
cool. I could send you all that.
cool. Okay. Um, Something else popped into my mind, but boy, we don't even have the dust off this request, but I'm going to ask you another one. So, because it just popped into my head, I'm trying to do a lot of things in the We Help Authors vault where I've got a guy doing breath mastery and stuff like that. Would you be willing to like do a prayer or several prayers, maybe niche them down as far as like, maybe for inspiration and vision on one prayer, and then maybe a prayer for flow or something like that. And just have a little video section to just help authors
Let me
um
think of how I would position that because to be
connect.
honest with you, Dave, like my belief in prayer
Yeah,
is that, well, number one, like all of it comes down to plugging your way into doing God's way, like
yeah,
plugging yourself in. That's why
okay,
Jesus is prayer, right?
yeah,
And I'm not like I used to be like a big fancy prayer person, right? Where I would want to just blow the whole socks off of everybody in the whole room, and shatter down and call the Holy Spirit out to hearken under the angels and do the will of God through everybody. I mean,
yeah,
like just literally like had people sweating at the end. And then I realized I'm like, man, I'm just doing this for like show or something like that, aren't I? And and then I was like, Jesus said something about prayer, like don't pray in the streets like the Pharisees do, so everybody can just so everybody can hear it, right?
yeah,
Now I
okay,
believe in shaking the house down when you're alone or when you're by
yeah,
yourself, right?
okay,
But a lot of that's out of pain and emptying yourself and even falling to the ground begging, please, Lord, please. You know what I mean? There's
yeah,
like situations like that that occur, right?
okay,
So let me think about how I would structure that.
okay,
And I'm sure God will plant a seed in my mind if I can think of
yeah, if it
ways. So don't
resonates.
be surprised if you get this long message from me where I'm just like, oh, dude, it came to me.
Yeah, no,
Here's
that's
what we need
awesome.
to do. So, but the objective
Yeah,
is to give them some instruction on how to pray in a
yeah,
way that's
yeah,
that
that would help
gets
them with
them to
their
where
book,
they, yeah, okay,
basically. um And, I'm like, the more I learn about it, like, it's almost like I hate religion, but I love Jesus. Like
yeah. Religion's terrible.
yeah,
That's what Jesus said about the fig tree, So
yeah,
that's the reason why the fig tree, he cursed the fig tree, is because from a distance it looked like it's fruitful, like religion. And then
okay,
the closer he got, there was no fruit. So it
gotcha,
wasn't producing any fruit. So he
yeah,
cursed that tree.
okay,
And if you look at the beginning, Adam and Eve, they were covered
yeah.
in fig leaves.
Oh,
What do you
yeah,
think they really ate?
okay.
God leaves clues.
Oh,
And
oh,
and then if you look at Adam and Eve, how they were the two thieves that stole the fruit. You
yeah.
look at Jesus as the fruit being put back up on the tree with the two hung beside the two thieves,
Oh, wow.
being restored.
Oh,
So
yeah,
by belief, it fell,
okay,
right? They didn't
wow,
believe God. And by believing God sent Jesus as his only begotten son, that's restored through belief and through faith.
wow.
So that was Jesus cursing religion. He didn't, that's the only people he
Yeah,
had beef with, bro,
okay,
was the
okay,
Pharisees. And it's unfortunate. We got a lot of modern day Pharisees that condemn, uh, judge. I studied a lot of ancient Hebrew wisdom, man. And the thing about judgment, bros, what people don't realize is that if you go and judge somebody, so we're always supposed to judge situations. Okay,
yeah,
I don't want to go in the bar because I don't want to drink anymore because I know where that
It's
takes me, right? But do I judge the people in the bar? No, I'm not,
oh, I get that.
right? Or, it's like, okay, do I want to go do this particular whatever, right? No. But do I judge the people? No, you love the people, man. Because here's what happens. The ancient Hebrew, they knew this in ancient Hebrew wisdom that if you judge somebody, you send an angel audit to them and you get the same audit. But it's not like you're being audited in the same way that you judge them because all you're doing is going, they're unrestricted in this area of life. The audit comes back to you and says, oh, no, well, are you restricted in every area of your life? That's why it says, don't judge or you'll be judged because you turn that judgment on yourself. And so, but situations,
Yeah.
judge situations. No, I'm not supposed to go in there, but the people, be very careful with people. Yeah, I was told by a rabbi, dude, I was told by a rabbi, he said that the whole universe, right? Here's the ancient Jewish wisdom says that, God is like this giant ever flowing light. And then we got this space that was created. R and I were
Oh, hold on, you're breaking up a sec. Did I lose you?
okay.
Yeah, you're frozen. I don't know if it's my Wi-Fi or yours. Oh, there you are.
Me.
Yeah, now I can.
I'll play.
Let me stop my video. Maybe that's wrong.
So,
You're back now.
okay. Okay. So, what he was telling me is that the entire universe was worth one angel. Okay.
Okay.
But then he told me that one human soul was worth all the angels in heaven.
Wow.
People don't know how, number two things, people don't know how important we are to God. We were created in the image of God, bro. An angel is a dissipating force. It can come and go.
Mm.
An angel could be sent to you, bro, just to tell you to look up when you were looking at your phone while you were driving so you didn't get in an accident. And that could have been that one angel's job. It's gone.
Hmm.
Humans, it's not like that. We were created in the image of the creator. We don't understand how valuable we are to everyone. Okay. And we don't understand how valuable everybody else is and how much more we're connected than what we realize.
Yeah.
Like we're connected to every soul, bro. And it's like at the end, we're gonna like really wish that we would have brought all of our brothers and sisters closer to God.
Hmm.
Like the whole thing, like in they say in hell, right? It's like everybody sitting around this Thanksgiving table and everybody's angry and mad, and there's all this beautiful food out there. And it's because like the utensils are so big, nobody can eat.
Hmm.
And then you go into heaven, they got the same utensils, same food, same table, but everybody's laughing and having a good time because they're all feeding each other.
Hmm.
Hell is blocking yourself off from other people, thinking you're the center of it all. When we're going to find out that everything is the collective whole. We were all part of one at one time.
Yeah. Wow.
And at a soul level, we are still that one. you know, we just been separated in these physical, bodysuits that we got here.
Yeah. Wow.
So let's make it a better world, brother.
Yep. Yep. And that's going back to the marketing. Like I feel like there's there's so many people that aren't being brought to Jesus because it's so preachy and so religious, and everything else. So I think there's got to be more, better ways to bring people into it, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah. Well, and it's also that's coming into the idea that you're thinking that Jesus is, a lot of people think Jesus is a magic word. And he doesn't say that. He says he is the way. I
Mhm.
see the way in a lot of people that are not in the church.
Yeah.
There was a couple uh lesbian gals that I spent some time with a couple weekends ago. Dude, these two, they had more of a grip on how to be great human beings than most anybody, a lot of people that I met at the church.
Hmm.
And we had a good long conversation
Yeah.
about that.
Mm.
A good one, a positive
Yeah.
one, a loving one.
Yeah.
Because Jesus said, man, when you judge, you start picking the flake out of somebody's eye. There's this big old plank in yours, right?
Yeah. Yep.
And but you just it's so hard, man. I watch what a lot of the religious people are, and they're especially when they're hate filled,
Yeah.
and that's not that's not what it was about. That's reacting from a place of lack, and all
Yeah.
that judgment that they're compiling on other people. They're going to get that in return, and they'll never become who they were meant to be. They'll get in heaven because Jesus will let them in heaven. But Jesus said some people will come with just this pile of sticks, and then it'll get burnt up. The whole premise of that is the ancient Hebrews knew you had to walk through fire before you got into heaven, and fire burnt off all the sin, right?
Oh, okay.
And then you go to the Father, right? And Jesus saying, "How much is you even going to be left?"
Mm.
You know what I mean? So the virtues are the cardinal virtues inside of our heart. Who we become, our virtuous part of ourself,
Yeah.
stands the test of the flame. Because all that other stuff's not even true. Like the negative stuff is all from an illusion. It's all fake.
Yeah.
So it can't go into the kingdom of heaven with us. I want you to think about this. And C.S. Lewis talked about this. Even even bad has to go through good.
Mm.
So it's like if I do something bad, well, I mean, if I go rob a bank, I'm obviously gonna get something good out of it if I get away from the bank, right? And I don't get caught. But even as the cops are chasing me, I'm going, God, please help me.
Wow. Yeah.
Right?
Well,
you know?
I was stuck on the part of the Bible where they're talking about the 99 sheep, and but the one that ran off is celebrated, and I was like, well, do I need to go do some shitty stuff or something? It's like, but no, my little sister explained that we're all the one.
Yeah. 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 So no, no, no. That doesn't mean you got to go do anything, anything bad. But it does mean that if you did and you fell down a particular path,
Yeah.
I mean, that shows God's mercy. And that's the reason why we can't judge correctly. Now, we put judges on courts, right? So they can judge appropriately. And it's kind of modeled to heaven, but as you know, it's not perfect at all, right?
Yeah.
But we don't have the mercy that God has. We want it for ourselves. If I cut somebody off in traffic, I immediately, oh my bad. I want mercy. I want mercy, right? You don't want to look at them when they pull up beside you. You know what I mean, right? You just know you did something crappy. You don't even want to look at them. You
Yeah.
want mercy, right? But yet, if somebody does it to you, you don't want to give them that same mercy. And so, we've got this judgment. God's got a perfect blend of judgment and mercy. And and you're going to find out that all things go to the good. And to truth be told, this is between, this is me talking. This isn't
Yeah.
like me, because I say that if God comes to me and tells me something different, then he's going to forgive me anyway for thinking this way. And I believe thinking this way is not something that's unforgivable. In fact, it's coming from a good place, a good heart space. And I personally do not 100% do not think that there's going to be a torture chamber outside of heaven for forever.
Mm.
Jesus specifically said that it was for, when he said eternity, that meant for a period of time.
Mm.
And that period of time has been interpreted different throughout the Bible. And what I think would eventually happen is that, let's just say somebody was nothing but bad, meaning they were all untruth and they became all untruth. I think that two things: some of their goodness lives through people that knew them. The good things, everybody's done something good, and it lives in the heart of somebody, right? So that soul tie is still there. But I believe that it's dissipated and eventually disappears,
Mm.
because it says in the Bible that God does all things for the good. And C.S. Lewis pointed out incredibly well that hell is a door locked from the inside. That if somebody's there, it's because they want to be there.
Oh, wow.
An example of this is like Al Capone goes, right? And he shows up, and Archangel Michael is walking him in, and he sits down on a beach 2 or 3 days later. He's getting drinks, getting anything that he wants. And he goes, you know what? I'm getting awful bored. He looks at Archangel. He's like, I'd like to rob a bank. And Archangel goes, okay, all right, let's go. Sets up a nice bank robbery, and then he goes in there and gets away, gets captured by the police. But it just ain't right because he knows that it's all planned.
Hmm.
There's no real,
Oh, wow.
badness
Yeah.
going on that fuels him, right? So all of a sudden he sits down, he goes, man, this is terrible. Weeks go by, months go by. He looks at the archangel, he goes, this shouldn't be heaven. He goes, this is like hell. And the angel looks at him and goes, I never said it was heaven.
Wow. Hmm. Wow.
So I'm not a fan of and if I'm wrong, God will have a reason why. He'll tell me why. I'll learn one day why. But I can't see somebody going to heaven and then knowing their son's like burning in the forever
Yeah.
torture chamber. And the Bible only has a few things that would lead people to think that, but it has multitude of things that would lead people to think the opposite. And when you study stuff like Kabbalah, they say that people go into that and then their soul comes out and their soul gets replanted at some point. But it's essentially to burn off.
Hmm.
It's for the good at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And so I study a lot about that because it's a
Uh, I
biggie, man.
I was
I
reading a
think,
book that was talking about, basically Hitler will be in heaven
yeah,
because, basically the premise of this was hell didn't exist really, that everybody's gonna be forgiven. We're all God's children, and, no matter
yeah,
how bad your kid fucks up, he's your kid and you love him. You're gonna
that's
protect him,
right.
so it was a really different way than I'd ever heard about it,
Yeah. But there's like the real religious type that'll fight you on that. So
yeah,
I
yeah,
tend to just stay away from that topic because I'm not
yeah,
here to get into arguments with people or to cause people to lose their faith. I just want to instill goodness in them.
yeah.
And but I can't believe that. And if I just can't believe it. It's not in God's character.
Well, and I forget who it was, but basically I'm sure you've heard it where there's no darkness, there's absence of light, there's no
Hmm.
cold, there's just absence of heat
Oh
units.
yeah. Yeah.
And that's kind of,
Yeah. And
it's
that's what they say hell is just absence of God.
yeah, absence of God.
And C.S. Lewis had this thing where he said even if a bus went into heaven, like the doors would be locked from the inside, nobody would want to go.
Huh.
It's like they wouldn't want to leave behind the the lie, and Jesus called it the worm. You know, but they wouldn't want to leave behind that thing that's not true to go
Yeah.
in. Um, even in that case, it says that the devil comes to ruin at some point. And in ancient Hebrew wisdom, they called his name was Satan, and it's not a pitchfork guy; it's a
Okay.
force, it's an opponent. It's like the force of gravity is
Yeah.
basically what it is. And the truth of the matter is, and once you think about this, because this is going a little bit deeper, who's Satan's father?
God,
God.
right? Yeah.
His brother was supposed to be Michael, right? So here we got Satan created to give us the resistance that we need to grow.
Hmm.
He's
Yeah.
an opponent, you know, and he's always going to oppose us. And he's always going to try to get us to look at the worldly things and try to get us to turn away from God as quickly as possible, be reactive and, be in the swindling, and all that. Right. So he's that way. And he's always going to be there. And I talked about this with my wife. Like if me and my wife got into an argument, she could be in that room over there in the laundry room. I'd be right here. And we create a spiritual wedge. And I'm sitting there going, she don't appreciate me and blah, blah, blah. And then she's over there thinking the same thing. Well, that's the ear of Satan coming in. That's why when God says two people come together, the devil has no chance. Because he's like, two people come together and loving, like the devil's like, how can I get in here? He's like, oh, there's no space created.
I like that.
But even though me and her could be in the same house, we could physically create that space through an argument.
Yeah.
And then he could be talking into my ear, and then I leave. She could be saying this and that. I ought to leave, and blah, blah. And we let him, you invite him in. Because well, I know one thing that when Jesus came, he destroyed before a Satan force could go to God and put a case against us, right? Like he did Job. And Job was like almost a righteous, purely righteous man, you know? And here he said, I bet Job wouldn't follow you if, he didn't have all this stuff. Right.
Hmm.
And bam, that was the case that's put against him. Right. Well, when Jesus came and he gave us the advocate, the Holy Spirit, it's his spirit because he breathed on his disciples before he left. What does God do? He breathes into us. So Jesus
Yeah.
breathed, he said, I'm sending the helper. It's going to be me. Right. I'm coming back. That's my spirit. That's omnipresent in all things. And so he sent that and they called it an advocate. The Holy Spirit is an advocate. Well, an advocate's a defending attorney. So what happens is now on the spiritual level, Satan can go with a case and no, denied. Blood of Jesus. Nope. Denied. Nope. He's walking denied. I see the blood of Jesus. I don't see. Nope. Denied. So he's the defending attorney for us up there, right? And so, but the problem is that's not here in the physical realm. Okay. I mean, we can be defended because the spiritual affects the physical, physical affects spiritual. But you go out and do something, you go in jail, bro, and then Satan's going to get off, scot free. See, there's repercussions, but the repercussions are how much we give him.
Hmm.
So the devil has a limit placed on him and very fearful of overstepping them boundaries. And like he's under God's rule. Like you do not cross these lines. Now the limit is globally. How much sin do we give him globally? How much sin do we give him regionally, America, whatever, different countries? How much sin do we give him in our household? And then how much do we give him personally?
Hmm.
So he's got like like a dial.
Okay.
And that's why the ancient Jewish people, they knew that when big world things happen, like, issues like, people are like, why did all these children die in this, hurricane and all these kind of things that, what they said in ancient Hebrew is that the sin of that like region reached a threshold that if it went one little bit further, God would have to destroy the whole universe.
Wow.
So it's like a pressure cooker.
Okay.
And Satan gets that power. He's handed that power. Okay. They send that much as a whole. You want to screw with the weather? Send
Hmm.
one in. And
Wow.
he's proven he can screw with the weather with Job and with Jesus.
Yeah.
Because that demon across the other side, the legion, when Jesus stepped up and he was sleeping in the boat and he said, calm, be still, that legion sent that storm to stop Jesus from getting over there.
Yeah. Mm.
Which didn't even affect him. It was supposed to teach us a lesson that no matter how the storm rages around us,
Yeah.
that we could literally be in our safe place and our peace with the strength of the Lord.
Yeah.
Jesus is like, this boat ain't gonna tip because I'm in it. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
You
Wow.
know?
So good.
So that's the stuff I study all the time, bro. I just
Yeah.
love it.
I love
I
it.
just love it.
Fascinating.
Been life changing. And I feel like a different person over the last
Oh, you're a totally
just probably over
different
the last year or
person.
two,
Yeah.
even.
Yeah. I'm so proud of you.
I appreciate it, man. Thanks.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
It's all God. I just begged him for wisdom every day.
Yeah.
And so and I just told God, I said, I just help me so I can help other people. Like, I
Yeah.
don't want any credit for it. It's all God. This has nothing, dude. This has nothing to do with my brain at all.
Yeah.
Nothing. I mean, it was literally me just studying and thinking about the Lord and then the God bringing the right people to me, bringing the right scriptures in front of me. Like I seen God deliver me this really amazing stuff on how a lot of stuff works through the Bible, through his
Yeah.
word.
Yeah.
And it has nothing to do with me trying to figure it out. It has everything to do with just me asking him and be willing in to receive it through
Yeah.
whatever source comes to me, you know,
Nice.
and
Yeah.
it's available to everybody. James, uh, first James was at 5 through 6. Ask Lord for wisdom and he'll give it to you without finding fault. But
Yeah.
you can't be like a stick in the sea. A double minded man is unstable in all his ways.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you just got
Yeah.
to believe.
Yep. So good. So good.
I appreciate you, brother. So,
Yeah.
man, I'll let you get
Hey,
on.
real quick, give me just 2 seconds of
Yeah.
feedback. Was I okay as an interviewer?
Yeah,
Do I
man.
need to fix my camera or anything? Or
No,
I
no,
feel like
everything
my
back.
eyes are never looking in the right spots
Yeah,
because of my
background looks
camera.
good, man. I
Yeah.
just let loose. You know what I
Okay.
mean?
Relax
Be
more. Yeah.
willing to look stupid
Okay.
I think that's hard for everybody to overcome.
Yeah.
The more that you can be relaxed and be like, oh, if I screwed up, if I said something wrong, like who cares?
Yeah.
The faster you'll overcome it, and then the
Okay.
faster you're going to notice that none of them issues
Cool.
ever even happen.
Okay.
And then ask God for strength before you come on. Tell him to give you strength. Tell him to give you his power. That's, most of it, something I didn't say during the show is that, or during the episode, is that if you want to know, some people get stuck. I don't know if this is the right direction or that's the right direction. All you have to do is ask God, and whatever you hear, you go. And because you ask God, it's the right direction.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah, yeah, because
So
it's
true.
because you
Yeah.
brought him into it first.
Okay.
And so the direction never mattered. It's just, were you just willing to ask God?
Yeah.
And if you were willing to ask God and you took off in that is the right direction. Now, if God leads you through all this stuff to bring you somewhere else, that was all part of the plan.
So good. Yeah.
It's just that you asked. You're
Yeah.
protected. So you ask, you're protected during
Yeah.
that.
I love that. Awesome. Well, John, thanks again. I really appreciate it. And like I said, send me over, some links and do you have a good headshot you want me to use?
I got all that stuff on my website. I can send all that over to you.
Okay, perfect.
It's all
Perfect.
downloadable on my speaker page.
Okay. Oh, awesome. Awesome. Yeah, just send me
So
that link if you will.
thinking ahead on that one. All right, brother. Appreciate you, man.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
All right, Dave. Love you, bro.
Love you too.
Have a good one, my
Appreciate it,
man.
John. Bye.
Appreciate you too.